You ever bite into a stick of Wrigley's Double Mint Gum and think, this is only meeting 2/3 of the peppermint flavor strength my mouth can sustain. I could do with an upgrade. But is there such a thing? Introducing new Trigun! The peppermint tastes so strong it's like getting shot in the mouth by an angel. Trigun! Oh my god, what have I become? Welcome to the third volume of Trigun, the sci-fi western action comedy that you can sort of follow along with if you squint hard enough. The previous two volumes dealt with largely standalone stories that helped establish the characters and the world they inhabit. This sort of final volume is when the actual overarching plot kicks in, with Vash's past catching up with him. I say sort of final because these collected 7 issues make up the conclusion of Trigun's original run with the magazine Shonen Captain, which had been cancelled early in 1997. As such, while this volume ends with something of a conclusion, a good enough ending, it was not the ending creator Yasuhiro Naitao intended. Not long after the magazine's cancellation, Naitao was picked up by another magazine, Young King Hours, originally to produce a new work. However, he did not want to leave Trigun unfinished, and with the production of the anime adaptation underway, he was able to convince the magazine to allow him to continue that story, even though Young King Hours aimed for a slightly younger audience than Shonen Captain. Hey, if the anime is a success, this magazine having a tie-in comic will boost sales, right? So Trigun was resurrected as Trigun Maximum in October of 1997, running for an additional 97 issues. There's no immediate plans to cover Trigun Maximum, they haven't been requested, so for this video I'm going to approach the story as if this was the incomplete ending it almost was. So last time, Vash Stampede was approached by a man named Legato, who works for Knives, a figure from Vash's past. Legato informed Vash that 12 assassins would be coming for him, and then left behind a bag containing the severed head of a local shoe salesman. Given his close proximity to the head and the fact that he was witnessed visiting the shoe salesman earlier that day, and the fact that he has a reputation for destruction, the local authorities arrest Vash under suspicion of murder. Meryl and Millie try to vouch for him, but it's hard when law enforcement is actually reasonably justified in their actions. Stuck in a cell, Vash can do nothing but flashback to a long time ago, a time when he wore jorts, surely the Dark Ages. We see a young Vash interact with Rem. She explains Project Seeds, a sort of terraforming project to bring life from Earth to other planets, and seems to have some theological thoughts on the matter. I don't know if the God in heaven exactly approves of humans living this long like this, but I think an impartial observer would say, in this place, there is the will to live. The actual logistics of this operation aren't that important. What's important is the maternal relationship Vash seemed to have with Rem during this time. Then something went wrong. All the systems go on autopilot, bringing the ship on a collision course with a nearby planet. Vash and Knives get into some sort of escape pod, but Rem stays behind. She's going to try and get the systems back online, as impossible as it seems. That's when Knives starts laughing maniacally. What? The guy named Knives is secretly evil? Next you'll tell me Susie Rat Poison is up to no good. Knives reveals that it was he who messed with the systems. He who set Project Seeds up to fail. He thinks immigration is evil, that they're spreading a disease across the galaxy, and since you can't get Mexico to pay for a wall around the solar system, crashing the ship will have to do. This flashback is interrupted when Meryl and Millie visit Vash in his cell. Millie does this pose, I don't know what this is. Then, out from the darkness, a man enters the jailhouse and starts shooting the place up with massive wrist cannons. Look out, Vash! It's the RoboCop remake! Actually, this is Monev the Gale, one of 12 assassins Legato told Vash he'd send his way. He's in all black, his arm cannons somehow don't shred his hands to ribbons, and I think he's wearing hockey pads. Batman would not approve. So we've reached a moment of action. And what that means for Trigun is that we've reached a moment where clarity takes a backseat to a billion motion lines, cramped frames, and no sense of pacing. Monev pushes Vash to the wall with intent to kill him. Vash can't fight back because his hands are handcuffed and he's chained to the wall. And then... I got nothing. I have spent 20 minutes trying to crack the next 3 pages with no luck. What's going on with Vash's arms here? His left forearm and wrist don't seem to match up. And what's Vash holding? It looks like a gun, kind of. It seems to have a trigger, and there's that thing on the side that might be a barrel. It could be a stupid chunky gun, but where did it come from? The only other established weapon in this scene is Meryl's Derringer, but that's not what this is. What is this? What does Vash do with it? I think he shoots Monev twice in the shoulder, which doubly proves it's not the Derringer because that's a one-shot only gun. Vash does something that breaks his prison chains, and Monev fires his weapon randomly with 2 bullets hitting his faceplate. I don't know if Vash shot him, if someone else shot him, or if that was Monev's own ricochet. Monev flies through the doors. My best guess is that his gun pushed him back, but if he can't stand the force of his own gun arm, why is he using it? Whatever happened, that gun arm is now useless, and Monev ditches it. I don't know if it's out of ammo or if it's damaged. I just have no clue. I have no clue what happened in these 4 pages. I cross-checked it with this scene in the anime, and the anime plays it completely differently. Millie uses her stun gun to break Vash's chains, and Vash just runs away. Clean, crisp action. This is just garbage. And it's the kind of garbage that makes me feel stupid trying to work it out. Because either I'm stupid for missing some crucial detail, or I'm stupid because I spent half an hour trying to figure out bad art. Vash retrieves his gun from a desk. I don't know where that thing he was holding earlier went, and the fight spills out into the street. Monev calling Vash Diablo. Monev lets loose a volley of destruction, ripping apart buildings, killing a lot of civilians, and blowing Vash's left arm off. Holy crap. It's just dangling there because of the handcuffs. That's a really gruesome detail. The amount of carnage on display kicks us back into that flashback, with knives gloating over his evil deeds. But then a computer system announces that the Seeds ship has adjusted course. Seems Rem managed to override whatever Knives did in time, meaning Project Seeds will land on this remote rock. But I guess she still dies? Maybe the escape pods had all the stasis pods and the main ship was destroyed? I don't know. I mean, I do know, but in the context of this manga, I don't know. Back in the present day, Vash approached a bank and asked a guy to open the vault. Monev assumes Vash is using the reinforced vault as shielding. A laugh, because Monev's got this massive gun that can tear through that. But this is actually misdirection. Vash comes at him from the side, blows off Monev's faceplate, and pins the guy to the ground, pushing his gun against Monev's eye and cuts him. Vash almost breaks his no-killing rule, which is totally justified in this case, but memories of Rem cause him to pull back. Vash lets Monev go, and I guess the town does too, which, okay. This guy kills a dozen people and destroys a city block, they let him go. Vash is suspected of killing one guy, it's off to the clink. Sure, Monev is dangerous, but Vash has a reputation as a city destroyer. He's the most wanted man on the planet. Well, Monev gives Vash a commemorative coin. Legato said something cool would happen if Vash collected all 12 of these, and he leaves. A few days later, Meryl and Millie check up on Vash, who we see without a shirt for the first time, and he is wrecked. A mass of scars dating back ages. We also learn that Vash had lost his arm ages ago, and that arm we saw destroyed earlier was a mechanical prosthetic. Our protagonists leave town and start crossing the desert, but it's not long before they run into trouble. Monev, dead, crucified to steel beams. Who could have done this? Who had the strength and power to kill this man and put him in that position? It must be somebody truly dangerous and menacing and... I guess they can't all be winners. Look out, Vash! Here comes the durian fruit man! So with his arms tied like that, if he falls over, he's never getting back up, right? This guy's name is E.G. Mine, and he sucks. Vash manages to disable whatever the hell his weapons are with just one shot, and then knocks the assassin out with his duffel bag. Yeah, it's clear this 12 assassin thing is not going to go in order of difficulty. Vash calls out Legato, who's watching all of this from a distance, telling him that Legato is now the hunted. The next part of the story is from Legato's perspective. We find ourselves in a small settlement called Junora Rock, and Legato is enjoying some lunch at a local diner when these guys show up. These guys are in the slave business, and these ladies following them around like dogs on a leash are going to the organ shop as merchandise. It's not clear if their presence bothers Legato at all, but when one of the slaves takes notice of him, one of his slavers makes a huge fuss about it and starts smacking her around. They start to hassle Legato, who tries to ignore them, but when they insist on starting a fight, he gets very ominous. All of humanity will be reduced to ashes. So tell me, what makes you so impatient to die? Then one of the slaver's arms goes nuts, digs into his own chest, and pulls his own heart out. It seems Legato has some sort of ability to control a person's actions, and he makes the rest of the slavers kill each other. This is the first real display of Legato's power, of the level of threat he poses to Vash and everyone around him. It also frames him as maybe not entirely bad. He did just kill a bunch of really awful people, and by extension, he saved these women from getting their guts pulled out and sold on the black market. Legato truly believes the world is going to end very soon, and because of that, people should live good lives, I suppose. Meanwhile, Vash, Meryl, and Millie are on the bus, crossing a vast expanse of desert, when Vash spots a figure out in the wastes. So I've been very harsh about the art in this series, so let's balance it out with some positivity. Night Owl's strength as an artist can be found in still life, with large frames and little to no implied movement. Composition becomes much more considerate, clarity is respected. I mean, look at this page. This page is my favorite in the entire run of the manga. I love the deep shadows. I love how the man's foot and part of the cross is partially buried, implying how long they've been there. I love the background, how it emulates the curvature of the planet to show how large this desert is. I love the oppressive black sky. I can see this framed up on my wall. This is the kind of thing Night Owl excels at. He can totally create moments like this. But when it comes time for movement and tension and excitement, it all falls apart. This guy is Wolfwood, a traveling minister lugging around this giant cross and a confessional booth. Well, it's more of a confessional hat. He recognizes Vash and tries to make nice with him. And he does seem like a nice sort, a bit loud and excitable, but a decent guy. And with Wolfwood's introduction, we come to the mid-video topic. In these Trigun videos, we've been talking about intersections. First, we talked about the intersection of westerns and science fiction and the results of that. Then we talked about Western genre television intersecting with the Japanese public. With the sudden influx of religious iconography in this volume, this time we'll be discussing Christianity in Japan. Christianity's never really been a comfortable fit with the country. Catholic missionaries first arrived in Japan in the mid-16th century, which was as much about establishing trade as it was conversion. This made things tense with Japanese leaders who wanted the country to remain largely isolationist, and eventually led to repression and persecution of Christians. I'm obviously vastly oversimplifying this. There's actually a Martin Scorsese movie out right now about this very subject. It would take until the 1870s until freedom of religion was introduced to Japan, but conversion to Christianity never really regained traction, and Japan is considered one of the most secular countries in the world. Only 1% of the population identifies as Christian, and that's spread among many different denominations. Now, for a long time, it was considered common knowledge that Yoshihiro Naitao had grown up as a Buddhist, but had converted to Catholicism, which played a major role in Trigun. I mean, that makes sense, right? What with all the crosses and the angels and Monev calling Vash the devil and the space arc and now a character who's a minister. But the thing is, there's no actual evidence of this. No interviews, no profiles, no convention Q&As to confirm that Night Owl is actually Catholic. There never has been. The only comment on record was during a convention appearance at the 2009 Anime Expo, where he was asked about the moral theming in Trigun and any possible religious influence, and he replied that he doesn't follow a religion. I'm of the mind that this was the result of speculation in the early American anime scene on the internet that largely became codified as fact through games of telephones on various forums. I suppose it's still not out of the realm of possibility that Night Owl is Christian or was Christian at one point, but the only thing he's ever said on the matter was that he's not religious, so I'm going to work with that. So if Night Owl's not actually Christian, what's with all the Christian imagery? Is it just window dressing? Possibly. There's precedent for it. Consider Christmas in Japan. Christmas didn't really become a thing in Japan until the 1960s, and it's been, by and large, secular, with Japan looking at what other countries do and picking out the things that seem fun. Oh, Santa Claus! That's fun. Bright, colorful lights. Fun! There's a lot of romantic movies and songs set on Christmas. Let's make it a romantic holiday. Hey, what's a popular food in America? Kentucky Fried Chicken? Do they eat that on Christmas? They probably eat that on Christmas. They're taking what many see as a religious holiday, scrubbing out the actual religion part and making it their own thing. Which, for the record, I'm personally fine with. Another franchise that famously utilized Christian and Judaic symbolism is Neon Genesis Evangelion, with its monstrous angels and cross-shaped energy blasts and supercomputers named after the Magi, and so much more. Honestly, Trigun looks kinda tame in comparison. But like Japanese Christmas, it's not so much about religion as is using religious symbolism because it's an interesting aesthetic for a giant mech anime. The assistant director for the show said, "We thought the mix of science fiction and religion would make the series more interesting, that it would make the series more exotic and mysterious." Unlike Night Owl, Evangelion's creator's faith is on record. He's agnostic, definitely not Christian. The themes in Evangelion simply do not lie in the realm of religion, and I frankly believe the same is true of Trigun. If you personally draw Christian theming through the work, if Trigun appeals to you on that level, then by all means, consider it as such. Art is interpretive. But when you dismiss the internet speculation of Night Owl's faith and consider Japan's track record for scrubbing the meaning out of Christian symbols for their own ends, the case for Trigun as a Christian text gets a lot weaker. So why are there crosses in Trigun? Well, probably the same reason people combine westerns and science fiction. The same reason American Western television found appeal in Japanese culture. Because being different grabs attention. A lot of art is experimental, and I don't mean abstract art. I mean a lot of storytelling in media is somebody going, okay, what would happen if we combine A and B? Is that combination interesting, and is there an audience for it? Night Owl took the iconography he probably absorbed from the television westerns of his childhood, matched it with science fiction, and then added Christian symbolism for the same reason Evangelion did. Because it was exotic and mysterious and different. There's a certain shallowness to this prospect, but sometimes providing a new twist on genre and aesthetic can freshen up simple themes and ideas. The core theme to Trigun is pacifism. Vash doesn't kill, even though he exists in a very violent world and in a very violent genre. It raises questions of self-defense and the defense of others. Is it worth it when people still die through inaction? This is symbolized in this volume by Vash's body, a mass of scars that are the result of him not ending evil people before they can cause damage. Now these ideas are hardly new. Hell, they're not even new to westerns. But a Japanese science fiction western where characters interact with theological symbols devoid of meaning? Well, that's a new way to talk about it. Getting back to the story, Legato gets in touch with the rest of the assassins. Quite the lineup of characters, but you can safely ignore all of them except the woman on the far left, Dominique the Cyclops. It's clear that the original intention was for Vash to go through all these guys one by one, and that does ultimately happen, but with the original manga's sudden cancellation, most of these guys get set up, but no payoff. When Vash gets to Junora Rock, he finds the mess Legato left behind, as well as the lady assassin. She seems impossibly quick. Not even like the Flash quick, but instant teleportation quick. Vash tries not to get intimidated and gets under her skin with some cultural differences. By the way, while you were making that speech, if I had wanted to, I could have groped your tits 5 times. Pacifism doesn't preclude sexual molestation, I suppose. Our heroes, ladies and gentlemen. So the concept of this fight is interesting. Dominique moves in a way that Vash can't track. It turns out that behind that eye patch is a mutant eye that basically hypnotizes anybody who sees it. Their brain locks up, and once the eye is concealed again, they snap out of it. And to them, it doesn't feel like any time has passed at all. To Vash, it looks like teleporting. The problem is that the framing of this fight does a poor job placing our two combatants in a space together. You don't know how close they are, so when you get a frame of Dominique running past Vash, it doesn't feel impressive because you don't know how large of a gap that was. If they were standing right next to each other, this isn't a supernatural feat. You need to show that gap to impress us. The only way we know what's going on is through dialogue, and that right there is just piss poor visual storytelling. Eventually, Vash catches wind of what's going on and beats the hypnosis by focusing on some pain in his hand. He shoots her in the eye, disabling her powers and taking away her one advantage. She can't beat Vash otherwise. So, having failed, Dominique throws herself off a cliff and kills herself. And that prematurely ends this whole assassin plotline. Meanwhile, after spending some time with Vash, Meryl, and Millie and getting along well with them, Wolfwood goes his own way, reaching a church where he finds Legato inside. It seems that Wolfwood is also one of the assassins, or at least that's what we're meant to assume. We also meet Patrick Stewart here, who tells a lot of them that Knives is almost completely healed. Soon he'll be reborn. Literally. One of the plant angel things is pregnant with him. Ew. This leads to Trigun's sudden last-minute ending. No more assassins, no conflict between Vash and Legato, no conclusion to Wolfwood's character arc. We see Knives is born, Vash senses it, tells Meryl and Millie to get the hell out of here, and he approaches Knives for a final confrontation. It's all very dramatic. It turns out Knives has killed Legato off screen, presumably because he tried to get Vash killed. That would deny Knives his revenge. There's no real fight here. There's a lot of posturing, but ultimately just a couple of demigods having a staring contest until Knives triggers something in Vash, which turns his right arm into a massive lady cannon. Vash can't stop himself from firing, but he can at least aim, so he points it straight up. It blows a hole in the moon. Vash and Knives disappear. Vash and Knives disappear. Only Vash's trademark coat remains, stuck to a bit of metal, flapping in the wind. And for a very brief period of time, this was the official ending to Trigun. I'm glad it wasn't, because it's a weak, rushed, and unsatisfying ending. Vash only faced a quarter of the promised assassins. He never faced Legato, the actual conflict with Knives was vague, and we were just introduced to a promising new character in Wolfwood. Obviously, if you read the Trigun manga, don't treat this as an ending. Go straight into Trigun Maximum. But I'm hesitant to recommend the Trigun manga at all. I really enjoy the Trigun franchise. I enjoy the setting. I love a lot of these characters. Vash is one of my all-time favorite anime protagonists. But a lot of that is hampered by poor visual communication, especially during action scenes. Night Owl just wasn't good at that stuff back then. His character design was fun, and he could be very painterly at times, but there isn't any great moments of action in these 3 volumes, and I can't really recommend it. Instead, I'd rather recommend the anime. It shares a lot of the manga's strengths while being better paced and having clear action moments that are not hampered by sudden last-minute cancellation endings. It's just an all-around better version of this story. So this ends our look at Trigun, but there's still plenty of manga reviews coming up. Next time, magical girls and evil card games. I'm really hoping there's no groping in this one.